Hear my voice and listen well, and the story I will tell, how duty brought a broken heart, and why a love so strong must fall apart. She was lovely, she was fine, daughter of a royal line. He no equal, but for them it mattered little, for they were in love. Rose of England, sweet and fair, shining with the sun. Rose of England, have a care, for where the thorn is, there the blood will run. Oh my heart, oh my heart. Through the summer days and nights, stolen kisses and delights would thrill their hearts and fill their dreams with all emotions that true love can bring. But black of morning came one day, when her sister passed away. Many said on bended knee, she has gone, you must be our queen. Rose of England, sweet and fair, shining with the sun. Rose of England, have a care, for where the thorn is, there the blood will run. Oh my heart, oh my heart. To the abbey she did ride, with her lover by her side. When they heard the church bells ring, she was queen, one day he'd be king. But men of malice, men of hate, protesting to her chambers came. A foreign prince will have your hand, for he'll bring peace and riches to our land. She said, do you tell me that I cannot wed the one I love? Do you tell me that I am not mistress of my heart? So with heavy weight of life, she kissed her lover one last time. This land I wed and no man comes for. If I cannot have you, I'll have none. Rose of England, sweet and fair, shining with the sun. Rose of England, have a care, for where the thorn is, there the blood will run.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall that brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee.
Oh, such a shame. The boy thinks you'll never love him.
No, my fair Juliet, his beloved will love him, but there will come a time where he will not.
Will he love her back?
Her heart is forged from an indestructible metal. Her heart is cold just like his hands.
Will their story have a happy ending?
Did we have a happy ending? These ones are tragic lovers, my precious. I'm not sure if they can be saved.
Why must everyone say that? Why can't their romance have a happy ending? We never had one. But they, the tragedy that they will face, it is unbearable. It reaches beyond stars and falls into voids. The former's heart shall turn cold, while the latter stays warm. But deep down, the boy's heart is cold and hardened by his lover's tragic death. We died, Romeo. We are gone. We were supposed to live. Why do these two have to suffer as much as we did? Please, Romeo, please beg the gods to give them what they crave for. A simple happy ending.
We were never saved, Juliet. It was never meant for us to live. This was never a part of our story. Maybe you have to allow this tragedy to move forward onto the next.
No, I fear for them. My heart is in shambles. I can't bear this feeling. I must save them, Romeo. Let me save them, please. They deserve to be saved. Don't let them die like we did, Romeo. Not like we did, please. Not like we did.
We can, Juliet.
Please, I beg you, please.
I'm sorry, Juliet.
Time is running out for them. Emptiness is going to eat them from the inside and take over their souls. This is worse than the insidious stab to my heart and the weak poison to your lips. We must save them. They deserve a soft ending, my love, for they will face far too much in their lives. Too much for love, too much sacrifice, too much for each other.
Oh, Mr. Bennet, you are wanted immediately. We are all in an uproar. You must come and make Lizzie marry Mr. Collins, for she vows she will not have him, and if you do not make haste, he will change his mind and not have her. Mr. Bennet raised his eyes from his book as she entered, and fixed them on her face with a calm unconcern which was not in the least altered by her communication. "I have not the pleasure of understanding you," said he, when she had finished her speech. "Of what are you talking?" "Of Mr. Collins and Lizzie. Lizzie declares she will not have Mr. Collins, and Mr. Collins begins to say that he will not have Lizzie. And what am I to do on this occasion? It seems a hopeless business. Speak to Lizzie about it yourself. Tell her that you insist upon her marrying him. Let her be called down. She shall hear my opinion." Mrs. Bennet rang the bell, and Miss Elizabeth was summoned to the library. "Come here, child," cried her father as she appeared. "I have sent for you on an affair of importance. I understand that Mr. Collins has made you an offer of marriage. Is it true?" Elizabeth replied that it was. "Very well, and this offer of marriage you have refused." "I have, sir." "Very well. We now come to the point. Your mother insists upon it accepting it. Is not it so, Mrs. Bennet?" "Yes, or I will never see her again." "An unhappy alternative is before you, Elizabeth. From this day you must be a stranger to one of your parents. Your mother will never see you again if you do not marry Mr. Collins, and I will never see you again if you do." Elizabeth could not but smile at such a conclusion of such a beginning, but Mrs. Bennet, who had persuaded herself that her husband regarded the affair as she wished, was excessively disappointed. "What do you mean, Mr. Bennet, by talking in this way? You promised me to insist upon her marrying him." "My dear," replied her husband, "I have two small favours to request. First, they will allow me the free use of my understanding of the present occasion, and secondly, of my room. I shall be glad to have the library to myself as soon as may be.
When you're old and grey and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read, and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty with love, false or true, but one man loved the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sours of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled, and paced upon the mountains overhead, and hid his face amid crowd of stars.
Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Chapter 13. Mr. Rochester must have been aware of the entrance of Mrs. Fairfax and myself, but it appeared he was not in the mood to notice us, for he never lifted his head as we approached. "Here is Miss Eyre, sir," said Mrs. Fairfax in her quiet way. He bowed, still not taking his eyes from the group of the dog and child. "Let Miss Eyre be seated," said he, and there was something in the first stiff bow, in a patient yet formal tone which seemed further to express what the deuce is it to me whether Miss Eyre be there or not. At this moment I am not disposed to accost her. I sat down quite disembarrassed. A reception of finished politeness would probably have confused me. I could not have returned or repaid it by answering grace and elegance on my part, but harsh caprice laid me under no obligation. On the contrary, a decent quiescence under the freak of manner gave me the advantage. Besides, the eccentricity of the proceeding was piquant. I felt interested to see how he would go on. He went on as a statue, that is, he neither spoke nor moved. Mrs. Fairfax seemed to think it necessary that someone should be amiable, and she began to talk. Kindly, as usual, and as usual rather polite, she condoled with him on the pressure of belief he had had all day, on the annoyance it must have been to him in that painful sprain. Then she commended his patience and perseverance in going through with it. "Madame, I should like some tea," was the sole rejoinder she got. She hastened to ring the bell, and when the tray came, she proceeded to arrange the cups, spoons, etc. with fastidious celerity. I and Adele went to the table, but the master did not leave his couch. "Will you hand Mr. Rochester's cup?" said Mrs. Fairfax to me. "Adele might perhaps spill it." I did as requested. As he took the cups from my hand, Adele, thinking the moment propitious for making a request in my favor, cried out, "N'est-ce pas, monsieur, qu'il y a un cadeau pour Mademoiselle Eyre dans votre petit coffre?" "Who talks of cadeau?" said he gruffly. "Did you expect a present, Miss Eyre? Are you fond of presents?" And he searched my face with eyes that I saw were dark, irate, and piercing. "I hardly know, sir. I have little experience of them. They are generally thought pleasant things." "Generally thought? But what do you think?" "I should be obliged to take time, sir, before I could give you an answer worthy of her acceptance. A present has many faces to it, has it not? And one should consider all before pronouncing an opinion as to its nature. Miss Eyre, you are not so unsophisticated as Adele. She demands a cadeau clamorously the moment she sees me. You beat around the bush."
English is hard. We'll begin with a box, and the plural is boxes. But the plural of ox becomes oxen, not oxes. One foal is a goose, but two are called geese. Yet the plural of mouse should never be miss. You may find a lone mouse or a nest full of mice. Yet the plural of house is houses, not highs. If the plural of man is always called man, why shouldn't the plural of pen be called pen? If I speak of my foot and show you my feet, and I give you a boot, would the pair be called beat? If one is a tooth and a whole set are teeth, why shouldn't the plural of boot be called beat? Then one may be that, and three would be those. Yet hat in the plural would never be hose, and the plural of cat is cats, not cows. We speak of a brother and also of brethren, but though we say mother, we never say madam. Then the masculine pronouns are he, his, and him, but the plural is not the, this, or them.
Let's face it, English is a weird language,
There is no egg in the eggplant, no ham in the hamburger, and neither pine nor apple in the pineapple. English muffins were not invented in England. French fries were not invented in France. We sometimes take English for granted, but if we examine its paradoxes, we find that quicksand takes you down slowly, boxing rings are square, and the guinea pig is neither from Guinea nor is it a pig. If writers write, how come fingers don't think? If the plural of tooth is teeth, shouldn't the plural of phone booth be phone beef? If the teacher taught, why didn't the preacher prot? If a vegetarian eats vegetables, what on earth does a humanitarian eat? Why do people recite at a play, yet play at a recital, park on driveways and drive on parkways? You have to marvel at the unique lunacy of a language where a house can burn up as it burns down, and in which you fill in a form by filling it out, and a bell is only heard once it goes. English was invented by people, not computers, and it reflects the creativity of the human race, which of course isn't a race at all. That is why, when the stars are out, they are visible, but when the lights are out, they are invisible. And why is it that when I wind up my watch, it starts, but when I wind up this conversation, it ends?
Dreadful language. I take it you already know of stuff and bow and cough and dough. Others may stumble, but not you, on hiccough, thorough, slow, and true. Well done, and now you wish, perhaps, to learn of less familiar traps. Beware of herd, a dreadful word that looks like beard and sounds like bird. And dead, it's said like bad, not bead. For goodness sake, don't call it deed. Watch out for meat and great and tract. There are sweet and straight and dead. A moth is not a moth in mother, nor both in bother, broth in brother. And here it's not a match for there, nor tear and fear for bear and pear. And then there's those and rows and loose. Just look them up and goose and choose, and cork and ward, and cart and ward, and font and front, and word and sword, and do and go and thwart and cart. Come, come, I've hardly made a start. A dreadful language, man alive. I mastered it when I was 5.
A wonderful bird is the pelican. His beak holds more than his bellycan. He can take in his beak enough food for a week, but I'm damned if I see how the helican. There was a young lady of Niger who smiled as she rode on a tiger. They returned from the ride with the lady inside and a smile on the face of the tiger. There once was a runner named Dwight who could speed even faster than light. He set out one day in a relative way and returned on the previous night.
I know this big owl named Stu, who stays up all night yelling "Who?" Once an old man walked by, and he started to cry, and answered, "I don't have a clue." I know a young fellow named Vin, who is really remarkably thin. When he carries a pole, people say, "Bless my soul, what a shock to find out you've a twin."
Imagine no possession. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Am I? I hope so.